Hey guys, Lord British. So, 30 FPS, 60 FPS. Wow, fuck it, even 120 FPS. What should be the standard now? Now, the problem with what I'm discussing now is you have to bear in mind everyone's got differences of opinions on this. So there's no right or wrong person on this. That's the problem. I mean, someone's opinion can differ from mine. And I could argue why I believe their opinion to be wrong, but at the end of the day, they're entitled to theirs. So it's just there are no wrong opinions, and anyone who's trying to argue the fact that someone's opinion is wrong, they're dumb for doing so. So I'm about to do something very stupid about argue opinions, which is, something dumb that some people do. So right, so first off, we're going to start with just the very basic stuff, right? This video is in 60 FPS, so if you're watching it in 60 FPS, you're going to experience this, right? Because there are a lot of people out there, quite a lot of people, who basically say they don't see the difference between 30 and 60. I'm going to flat out say, like, you do see the difference. There is a visual difference, right? And anyone who says they can't tell the difference, they're either in a very nice world, which I would love to live in, where they really just take things just face value and don't see the difference in things, which I gotta admit is very nice. But like, it is noticeable, and you do notice it. So at some point, you're watching Fallout 3, sorry, and so you're seeing it in 60 FPS. At some point, I'm going to switch down to 30 and see if anyone notices, and if anyone can, put in the comments the time it happens. And whether I switch back to 60 or not. That would be interesting. I feel that would be bringing the audience into the equation. Now, obviously, this video is almost a direct response, to Totalbiscuits' frame rate police video. And if you don't know about this, I'll put a link in the description. It's interesting. He basically started a curated groups, noting every game available on Steam that is capped at 30, and now we're going to make the discussion and the argument whether this is good or bad. How can informing anybody of just some information about a game be bad? In my view, not really. I mean, I'm not slandering the group at all. Like, it's fine. I don't have a problem with its existence at all. It's just there are a couple things you have to take into account when something like this exists. Like, so a lot of the games on the list some of them are older games, and other games are things like South Park Stick of Truth is another game that's on there. And to argue whether the experience is enhanced in 60 FPS if you watch the show or not is, I don't know, I don't see the problem with it being in 60 FPS, but it definitely does change some small aesthetic of the game, and I prefer Stick of Truth being in 30. I gotta be honest, it's the way I feel about it. Fuck it, slander me, whatever. And when we're talking about in the realms of the PC master race, I own an Xbox 360 as well, which I play in the living room, and I own a PC. And honestly, I like both. I like both having a console and I like having the PC. They're for two different things. The PC I have is mainly for just sitting upstairs in front and hunched in front of the computer. When I'm during the day, I'm like on the couch, think, oh man, I want to play a video game, but I'm looking after my daughter and stuff. The 360 is perfect because there's no wire going across the room. I can just sit back on the couch, just nice and casually play a game. Pause it, put it down, and look after my daughter and whatever, and then pick it back up after. It's very, very much more relaxed for me to do it like that. And when I really want to sit down and have a nice, good, long game, I go to the PC. Now, back to the original argument of what I consider acceptable or not. Since I've upgraded my PC, yeah, 60 FPS is nice. It is very nice, and anyone arguing it's not nice is kind of being silly. However, you do have to bear this in mind, that if I buy a game and it's capped at 30, I honestly don't give a shit. This is the thing, is I don't give a shit. I give a shit when it's been falsely advertised being 60. Like, the example of this would be Batman. This is a very good example of this, because when they were showing some of the PC gameplay early on, it was in 60 FPS. And that's fucking unacceptable that they did that. They falsely advertised the game being 60, and then it was capped at 30 when it was released. And then, of course, people did a fix where they uncapped frame rate so they could play it 60, and then the frame rate was fucking jumping all over the place because, you know, Totalbiscuit was lucky in this regard because his computer's way overpowered, so he didn't have as many issues, but he did still have issues. But this is the problem with PC gaming in general. Right? You have to bear in mind, if you're a games developer, I don't know all the in-depth working of how to make a fucking game, so I'm assuming it's a lot of fucking hard work, is what it amounts to, because some games take a long time to make, especially some of the really big budget ones. And I was reading an article, you have to bear with me because I can't remember where I fucking read it, but I think it was to do with a developer who worked on Watch Dogs, right? And he said the problem is, what happens is they released the E3 with all the extra effects and all this shit, and by the time it released, obviously they got rid of that, and there was like, that was another huge controversy. But apparently the reason they did that was because they wanted to balance it for like PCs basically. They wanted to be like, right, well, everyone's going to want 60 FPS, so let's you know, balance it. And then, you know, some people were turning all these extra effects on, then complaining like their frame rate was dropping too much. Well, yeah, that's the problem. You see, you've taken some, when they released it, they took something out of the game to make it more stable, and now you've put that back in, and it makes it unstable again. So the frame rate is going to be inconsistent at that point. So at that point, you're kind of arguing with yourself, if that makes any sense. It was wrong of them. It was wrong of them in the first fucking place to advertise the game the way they did. No one likes games being advertised differently to when they released. It's disgusting and it should never fucking happen. You know, and I mean, it was the same with Dark Souls 2, if everyone remembers some of the EP footage on that, and that was disgusting as well, the fact that they did that. Now, getting to my opinion of all of this, right? Like I said, like I said before, I'm not bothered if a game's capped at 30, right? There's something that everyone's fucking forgetting. Well, most people are forgetting, right? Because people are just like arguing the point of, oh man, no, everything should be 60. No, you know, I don't see the fucking difference. Oh man, I'm okay with 30, right? Yeah, I'm okay with 30. I'm okay with 60. But there's something everyone's forgetting with this argument, and that's consistency, right? If a game frame rate's 60. Right, this is just an example of my opinion on this. If a game frame rate is 60, but you know, it jumps. So I'm trying to think of an example of a game that does this. If you play like 7 Days to Die, this is just an example. 7 Days to Die. If you don't balance your settings properly, like I can play everything on high to a variable degree with 7 Days to Die, but if I do, yeah, the frame rate's at 60, but it fucking jumps, like, constantly. So you'll be just walking around, and then suddenly it'll go from 60, and it'll drop to, like, fucking 30, like, almost instantaneously. Now, expecting someone to play a game and aim anything when the frame rate's jumping to that degree, right, it makes the game a lot fucking harder, and you do notice it, and it really fucking irritates. That's the irritating thing when the frame rate's inconsistent. However, if you cap that frame rate at 30, so it was consistent, you wouldn't have the issue, because the frame rate stays, so, you know, you get used to the control of it. So you could basically just argue alone that Totalbiscuits' opinion is based on the fact, I mean, he said it himself, that, you know, he's spoiled by 60 frame rate, you know, and when he plays a game that's in 30, he doesn't like it. Like, I'm paraphrasing a little bit there, but that's the basic of it. And you could argue that the reason he thinks this way is because, yes, he has played so many games that are in 60, that he's used to controlling a game in 60, so when he's controlling a game in 30, he's either overcompensating or undercompensating, or he's just irritated by the whole thing altogether. So, you know, that's his opinion, right, sort of thing. But for me, as long as the frame rate's consistent, I'm not bothered at all. I'm really not bothered. So, I argue that just in general, this is just in general, right? Whether a game's capped at 30 or at 60, I don't give a shit. It's consistency I want. I want the consistent frame rate, because basically everyone's just pulled their erections out at this point, saying, oh, I can do this, oh, I can do that. And I'm like thinking, oh, okay, erections aside, gentlemen, you know, you got your console boner out, and you got your fucking PC Master Race boner out, and you're saying, oh man, I'm gonna beat the world across the face with my 60. Why is this game capped at 30? Oh, it should never fucking happen. But I'm gonna argue, just for the sake of argument's sake, you know what? 30, 60, 120. I don't give a shit. I just want a frame rate that stays at the frame rate. That's what I want. That's all I want. You know? Because when you're playing a game and the frame rate's jumping everywhere, that pisses me off. That's what pisses me off. There are certain games where I let this go, though. Like, because certain games I think are just fun for the sake of being fun. And an example of that would be Earth Defense Force 2025. The frame rate in that game is inconsistent as shit. But you know what? That game's fun. So, you know, there's certain games I can let that go with as well. So like I said, opinions, gentlemen. You're more welcome to counteract my argument. But it's hard to argue with consistency now, isn't it? It really is. It's hard to argue with a frame rate that stays at the frame rate it's supposed to. Because there are a number of games that say, oh, we have 60 FPS. And everyone's like, yes, 60 FPS. Let's see how long it stays at that then, shall we? Shall we? You know? Our game's capped at 120. We can do 120 FPS. It's like, yeah, let's see how often it stays at that. Most games that are capped at 30 normally stay at 30. They don't normally drop too much. They, you know, sometimes drop to 28 and, you know, whatever. But, I said, the thing you always have to bear in mind is when devs are making a game for PC, they're not making it for one fucking PC. It's being made for, like, hundreds of different ones, you know, and you can't predict quite how the game's going to react on a rig that's not optimized to your game. So it's a hard thing to judge. It really is, because, you know, whilst one game may run fine on this computer, it won't run fine on another. And an example of this would be Far Cry 4. Far Cry 4 is a bit of a fucking resource hog of a game. So, like, I balance my settings where I'm getting a consistent frame rate, and that's all I ask right out of the game. That's all I want. So, you know, argue away. Let me know your opinions in the comment, and, you know, also let me know when you believe this video footage switched to 30. You know, because honestly, it is noticeable. So, I bid you guys adieu.